This morning I was checking out YouTube and headphones.com popped up a video. And it happened to be about this headphone that Zeos put out, this $250 headphone or whatever called Aris. And it's tuned a bit different than most other headphones. Mm-hmm. Let's just say that.
Yes. And it turns out Zeos shares our philosophy on this nearly perfectly.
Well, I don't know. I'd say yes. And that he said, well, if you watch the video.
At the end of the video, he addressed it. And he says headphones should be fun and sort of implied that everything's seeking to be the same. And I would agree. It does seem people are actively trying to make the same headphone, 100 versions of the same sounding headphone.
Yeah, can you imagine that? It'd be kind of like all cars are gray in color and go slow.
Yeah.
But bottom line is, it's kind of weird, but it's like you think about that, how boring that is if everything was the same, and it seems like, I mean, in some respects, it seems like, especially guys that are into measurements and they try to push things in one direction. Everything tries to get pushed in the same direction. And, and like look at the pictures behind us, right? Like you talk about the high-end audio side of things, which I've been in it for 40 years. Mm-hmm. You guys have been in it basically your whole life because you grew up with me.
Yeah.
In case anyone doesn't know, you guys are my sons. So, yeah, bottom line is that, these systems like this are made to have fun with. I mean, you think people spend this much money to make it sound flat, boring, meet a certain response, whatever.
Maybe some people do.
Maybe.
If you want that.
Maybe. Yeah. And, well, you can get that.
Right. This is the mistake people make, though. There's a use case for that. Absolutely. But assuming that that's what everyone wants, we're inferring that that must be what you want because you're inexperienced and somebody on the internet said that's what you want. I don't know. I think that does a bit of a disservice. And unfortunately, it is more difficult than it should be to listen to 20 setups or 50 setups and say, you know what, this is exactly the configuration I want. This is what did it for me. And then kind of work towards that goal in your headphone or your home audio system.
I mean, it's a good way to do it. I mean, same with speakers systems. I mean, the right way to do it is go into a dealer, a small shop that sells stuff like this and try some things if you don't know what you're looking for, right?
But they're dying.
Right.
They're harder to find, and they often have less in store. So it's a great thing to say. You should do this, but it's hard to do.
On the lower end of things, Amazon is your friend because just about everything's returnable.
Or Best Buy.
Right. Or Best Buy. Yeah. I mean, they do have some stuff, cool stuff there.
They do.
In fact, if you walk in a Best Buy that has the, what do they call that? What's that?
Magnolia Theater.
Yeah, the Magnolia room. And now they have stuff like this in there. They have Macintosh. They have Bowers and Wilkins. They have these various freaking speakers.
They got electrostats too.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. I think Martin Logan's in there now.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool when you think about it. Unfortunately, you don't see enough people. Seems like there's not. I never see any people in these rooms.
Not really.
Which is a shame because it's in the far corner of the store.
And it's dark over there.
And there's no computers and big screen TVs there.
Well, they're next to the TVs at our location.
But and I mean, that's probably done on purpose because that's, but if someone was looking for something, I'm sure upper end, they would take them over there and sit them down. But, that's the deal, right? With the higher end of things, which is kind of what we modeled our headphones after. We sought to try to make headphones that sound like systems like this behind us. That was the original goal. And because we're accustomed to high-end systems, nice DACs, nice amplifiers, nice speakers. We're accustomed to that. Full range in a room, subwoofers. And so it's really what the 1266 was all about, was to duplicate something like that.
Well, yeah. In this picture, as an example, we were in this room, and they were actually using these monoblock, 1.2 kilowatt amps, not for the speakers, but for the 4 12-inch subs. So that was like thunderous,
Yeah, Macintosh owns this
House of Sound.
Yeah, House of Sound in New York City. Mm-hmm. And we got to visit it in February, I think, when we went to CanJam, New York. And, March, it was a different month this year. And that's a very cool room. And they had multiple rooms in there with different speakers, different systems. But that's the point, right? Is what's your idea of fun?
Well, and or application.
Like they were showing different use cases, different size rooms.
Right.
You can't put this in a little room.
Not to mention the baller home theater they had in there. They had about 100 amplifiers.
Yeah, whole rack.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy systems when you think about it. But see, that's if you can afford that kind of fun, that's fun, you know. And I mean, in retrospect, looking back at what Zeos is trying to say in terms of $250 headphone fun, where it's very sensitive, you could plug it into anything, it plays, right?
Which we actually had a problem with when we were trying it.
Yeah,
we
it was so
sensitive. We're like, we got a 1 amp, and that's too much, Yeah.
But he said something about for gaming, right?
Right.
It's a good headphone for
It's
gaming.
sort of like the anti-audiophile headphone in that sense, because it just plugs in and it works. And maybe the profile isn't exactly, sonically at least, it's not quite what all the audiophiles claim to be seeking.
Well, it has a dip in the mid-range, so it's missing
for
mids,
some people,
but
they're going to find it to be very fun and engaging. And maybe it does something that nothing else does because it's designed a little wacky.
Well, if you're not using it for mid-range, if you're not listening to vocals, who cares?
Well, if you're listening to bass, just bass.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it depends on your focus and, of course, what music you listen to.
Well, so everyone has a different idea what fun is, and I think that's what's cool about all these different companies in audio, whether it be headphones or speakers or whatever. We're reproducing a recording, something that was captured, could have been 50 years, 100 years ago. Well, not 100 years, but you know what I mean. All these decades, we've got all these recordings to listen to, and they obviously were done different ways through time. Originally they recorded through tubes on tape.
I mean, you still could.
Vinyl. They're still doing it.
Right.
Yeah. When then digital came out, and that took a while to evolve, and here we are. So you think about it. I mean, all the different types of music that are out there to listen to are different kinds of fun. And I could see where, there might not be a system or a headphone or one singular thing that fits the profile for your idea of fun. So you should seek what you enjoy listening to, right? Not what someone tells you should be seeking to listen to.
Well, a little bit more than that, different products should exist. You could say that the Zeos' headphone, when you compare the measurements and whatnot, it's not that great, right?
From a measurement
traditional,
standpoint, no.
Right, traditional data standpoint, it's not exceptional. But does that mean it shouldn't exist? And that seems to be something that people get caught up in more and more now. People say, well, it's silly that this shouldn't exist because there's a headphone that meets this curve or this target at a lower price point. And then basically what you're doing is you're just pushing headphones to find a cheaper and cheaper way to do that, to achieve that goal. And yeah, there's some merit for that, but should the entire industry do that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a problem, right?
Well, I mean, it's always automotive, but, it's like in the high end, everything's wacky colors and, 1,000 horsepower. And then the low end, it's like everything's pretty much the same.
Well,
right?
and curiously, oftentimes
Right.
the high-end vehicles aren't really that fast comparatively. They're not really made for pure speed. Obviously, they are fast.
Yeah, right.
But when you compare it to some of the lower-end offerings,
Right.
you look at the power to
bad
performance,
value.
it's kind of bad, right?
Yeah.
It's not that exceptional. So it's not really about the performance. It's about enough performance to do what you want to do, to have a fun experience, to
and,
have a good driving
have it be
experience.
affordable. I mean, that's where the mass market is, right?
Well,
It's something that's affordable and it's enjoyable by a majority of people. But in audio, that's hard to do. Like, I over the decades I've been doing this at shows and stuff. I mean, I've seen people like all kinds of shit.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, all kinds of shit. They'll walk in a room and
some really goofy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'll walk in a room and they'll like one show. Remember, they'll walk in a room and they see tubes, right?
Right.
And then what happens?
It's like they either like that. I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Or it's like, go to the next room.
turn around,
Yeah,
walk
yeah.
out. Or box speakers. I remember one guy said, "Oh, it's just box speakers," because he was into planar, huge planers or ribbons.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't want to hear the box. And it's funny, but I mean, this is audio. This is the way it works. It's not, you can't force people to not like something.
Well, in this industry, people sort of like have something they found that does it for them that they like. And especially if they listen to that type of thing, that sound a lot, they hyper fixate on it. And they say, well, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And they ignore everything else. They just focus on this section of the performance, the sound.
Yeah, there's these speakers, you know, the Wizard Cone. It's like a single paper driver.
Yeah.
And they're like 5-6 inches. And I think it's Lowther style drivers, they're called. And they're people who own this speaker like that. I mean, they tend to use huge cabinets so that this little driver can actually produce develop bass within this massive
some sort
cabinet.
of bass. Yeah.
It's just one giant ported cabinet, right? It's funny, but people listen to these two things, and they're made to work on a couple watts, and usually they use tubes, and it's all about the mids. It's strictly about how live the vocal is, and you know they're getting in near field with them, but I mean that's what they enjoy, and they're strictly after that. You know, and by all means, we you know, like Diana MR, for example, was designed for mids, more mids. And not saying it doesn't have highs and lows, but I'm just saying, you know, like the Lowther doesn't. The Lowther single driver can't do lows real well, and it can't do highs real well because it's just a paper driver.
Well, yeah.
It's not a 2 or 3-way design. It's not, you know, it's not really full range, right? But look how many people. It's not a mass market product, but I'm just saying, the people that enjoy that are freaking into it. I mean, they'll tweak the hell out of these two speakers with all kinds of stuff.
It kind of does have a benefit of, it doesn't need a crossover then, right?
Yeah.
So you solve some problems.
It might have one, it might not. Yeah, you're right. But you know,
it has this other problem.
But what in general though, what they're seeking is a particular sound. Like, you know, they want the vocal to sound like someone's sitting in a room talking to them. You know, and it's a voice thing. And I mean, we all know that. We all know what it sounds like to talk to someone in a room. We're doing it right now.
That's right.
You know, yeah. So, I mean, people are experts at knowing what voice should sound like. And usually it doesn't, you know, most systems don't hit the mark on that.
You're fooled. It's like, there's someone in here when you're listening to this. No, not usually.
Yeah. One of the stories typically with stuff like this, like in a show or even home, you know, is like I was in the other room and I heard this thing playing a piano. I heard the piano or something, or I thought it was a live piano, you know. And you can get to that level within a home environment or wherever with systems that specialize in that. But it's usually going to do one thing well or a few things well. You know, to do everything. Like, you know, make a drum sound like a drum, make cymbals sound like you're standing in front of them.
Well,
that's a difficult task to ask for any playback system, much less a headphone.
Well, then you need to be good at the full range instead of just mids.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to concentrate on, you know. So, but in the high end of things, like where we are with these, and where big systems like this are, they are trying to optimize all that. They're trying to extract throughout the freq range as much information as they can without getting boring or without being bright or without it's a difficult balance.
Well, and there's no other way to like recreate a rock concert unless you have thousands of actual watts, right?
You need power.
You know, no matter what you do, a little bookshelf is not going to do it.
And a headphone ain't going to do it either.
No.
I mean, we tried it with this.
Yeah,
we're still considered, we're probably most of the bass king with the 1266. So we tried to duplicate subs in a room with that thing, and it's about as good as
415s and thousands of watts. It's not the same thing.
The visceral effect is crazy. Although I've used my sub in my room with the headphones. It's a good way around it. But, but you need big subs like this if you want to.
Ideally,
want to recreate a jet engine, a jet taking off. I hopefully people understand it. You know, and thanks to Zeos for bringing it up, because we can't keep getting lost in trying to meet something. Everyone meet, like he said, maybe one day we'll meet in the middle. And, you know, it's really about understanding each other's views, not telling somebody else what they should or shouldn't be listening to, right?
A bit.
You know?
I've seen enough people at these 2-channel shows, and initially they could seem a little wacky because there's a lot of them in that space. Then you talk to them a little bit and you hear more about the reasoning, why they're doing what they're doing, what they like about their product or whatever. And it's easy to criticize them, but oftentimes they're right. Oftentimes what they're looking for doesn't exist in something else, or doesn't do it the way they want it to. Yep. They're making a unique product for, unfortunately, a unique person. So that means low volume, high price.
Right.
But
yeah, it's not this isn't the mass markets we're talking about.
Right. They ship very low volume of these products, right? So we're talking single digits or tens of pieces a year, maybe 100. So it's not a mass market product.
Well, the
It's
higher
very
the price,
difficult to do.
the lower the volume.
It's very difficult to make something affordable at very low
How many
volume. It's
Bugatti
basically
cars do they
impossible.
make a year?
Not a lot.
Yeah, but they're millions of dollars. So
Yeah.
you
Right.
could get away with doing a lot of exotic stuff on that. And unfortunately, everyone wants to make their product as affordable as possible.
But see,
right?
you think about it, the consumer that's buying a vehicle like that, or even let's just say an Abyss headphone like this, it's an aesthetic too. I mean, you look at the build of it,
yeah.
like a car like that. Like they practically make everything in the car, right? Carbon
Usually it's all
fiber,
exotic.
this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy amount of work. To me, it's a deal. If you ask me, the price.
Well, if you can afford it.
Yeah, right. But still, it doesn't seem bad. In fact,
No, it isn't. It's not
you look at the
affordable,
work involved,
but it's not that bad of a price considering.
yeah.
Well, I think, as you said, Bugatti as an example, I don't think they've made money yet since they launched in 2005.
But I noticed that the owner
think
guy,
they've always lost money.
you notice though, every time I see a video with the owner guy in it, he is having a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, he enjoys what he's doing, right? He's having fun making these cars. And that's, I think, what they're after, is they're trying to sell these cars to people that want to have fun with them, right? It's not, and you know what? They want something beautiful too.
Are you thinking Koenigsegg?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, it's Koenigsegg.
yeah.
He's into it.
Yes, he
into
is.
his
Yes,
shit,
he is.
You know?
Same thing, though. Same kind of thing.
I mean, that's contagious. Like when you look at, it's kind of like, it's contagious. You look at how much he's into his vehicle, and you got to believe that his employees are have the same type of feeling, kind of like we do
It
here.
is the same thing in cars as with audio, though, because people will always say on like a $2 or $3 million car, it's like, oh, well, I could twin turbo a Corvette and it'll be just as fast or faster, right? Yeah, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and in audio, it's the same thing. You get people relating to, I could buy a $300 headphone and it'll do the same thing. Well, not really.
probably.
I mean, it'll do the thing.
For you, it might.
Yeah,
That's the reality,
true.
right? For you, it
True.
might do what you want.
Yeah.
And so what's the issue with that?
Yeah,
Buy
right.
it then.
That's awesome, actually.
Yeah,
It seems like a value.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No. But for a lot of people in audio, it doesn't do the thing.
it's
that
not the
We're
same.
talking about a tiny niche of people.
Yeah.
Well, we are in a niche.
It's a different product.
A niche and a niche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's always what we've tried to do, though. We try to make a product that doesn't exist.
Right.
So I think that's reasonable. I don't know why you would want 100 of the same headphones.
Yes.
Yeah. The people specifically do that, have like 15 different headphones specifically.
Yeah, they do different things.
Because
they
they
look
do
different,
different
they feel
things.
different, they work different,
Yeah.
they have different goals.
Yeah, I mean, and it's true. We want to be unique. I mean, we don't want to make what other people. We're not copycats. We don't want to make what other people make.
Well, I mean,
don't.
Yeah, everything we make is for the headphone
Yeah,
space.
right.
It's kind of goofy. We don't make
People copying
traditional
us. Yeah.
headphones. And the reality is that isn't the most profitable way to do it. If you want to make money, you make what everyone else is making. Maybe you make it a little cheaper, a little different. You mark whatever it is. Like that's the formula.
Basically, knock off a design that worked, like a Beats headphone.
Right. And for some reason, those people don't get attacked. Right. And it's strange because that doesn't really breed innovation. If you want new, interesting, novel approaches, cool stuff, unique stuff, you should encourage it. And I agree with Zeos.
Totally.
Headphones should be fun. Headphones should be,
Listening
they
to
should have
music,
a reason to exist.
Listening to music should be fun for you. It's a personal thing. It's a personal journey, and it's gonna keep in mind that it's going to change. The more you do it, your taste will change.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely will change.
Food's like that, yeah.
Totally.
Like everybody starts out hating broccoli or whatever as a kid, and then eventually like, oh, I like broccoli.
Well, when you're young, McDonald's is greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, then you get older,
hopefully,
it's
as you get older, you figure out that it's not really the greatest thing since sliced bread. But yeah, I mean, your taste will change. So expect that. Don't be stuck in any one thing, and you should try things. And that's the only way you're really going to enjoy this hobby of ours. And it is enjoyable, and it should be fun. So thanks to Zeos for bringing that up. It's a good topic. I think it should be talked about more often than not. It shouldn't be avoided. It shouldn't be avoided. We do this. I think companies in general, this is why we do what we do, right? I think that's I think that's valid, good information. I think people should know why companies do what they do. They should. You should know more about it.
I think it's reasonable.
No, there's a washer and dryer or whatever.
You usually don't believe them, right? Because most of the reality is they do it to make money. Yeah. And I guess there's always sort of a layer of that because it's kind of hard to run a business if you don't make money. Someone's got to pay for it to exist. But yeah, it would be nice to have more transparency on that front, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, people, I think that's interesting stuff. I do. Just like listening to the owner at Koenigsegg talk about getting in his car, flooring it, Well, you can tell he does it all the time.
Well,
It's
yeah.
nothing. Yeah, no problem. You and me are thinking we're going to shit our pants if you take out an acceleration. You take a car like that around a curve like
Yeah,
he
well,
takes it.
and the rear wheel drive, it's,
Yeah, right. It's like, well, he's like nothing. It's, let's
Well,
do
the
this.
cost makes it a little scarier.
Yeah,
Sure.
well,
Well,
that
that's
too,
true. Yeah, yeah. Of course, he could fix his own cars if he breaks them too. But
that helps.
He's probably good for it.
But yeah. But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. You got any questions or comments? Call us. Norm's over here now. He answers the
Norm
phones.
answers them.
Yeah, he's kind of keeping an eye on us over here. But Norm's here. He answers the phones. He's very knowledgeable, knows all about the stuff. Give us a call. You want to know anything about our headphones, the systems that use it, what, even just talk about what you're currently using and how, might be able to help you with the mix somehow. We sell electronics, we sell headphones, we sell, and if necessary, if our stuff won't fit you, he'll tell you that. He'll say, go here, go there.
Yep.
So, we've got resources here to help people to travel through audio and have,
There you go.
and have fun doing it. Take
Hopefully.
care. Take care, everyone. Thank you.